Mark there from Stirling. We're going to Jenny on the line from Birmingham.
Hello, Majid.
Hi, Jenny.
Hello. You know, I listen to your show and I listen to you bring this subject up time and time again. And the thing is, I just wanted to correct you that, you know, before I do correct you on this matter, I just want to say that I'm also a British Pakistani, and I agree with you when you say that, you know, the people should speak up regardless of what race is doing these activities or, you know, this being abusing these girls. And, you know, I personally feel that every guy that does that to any girl should be given life sentences so that they're also set as an example for other people that even think about wanting to do something like this. But what I wanted to point out was that you keep banging on about them being just Muslim and Pakistani, when I actually know myself, having known, you know, being around and seeing these things, not participating, not being involved, but, you know, seen from the outskirts. And these kids are targeted by different races. It's not just Pakistani. There are white people doing it. There are black people doing it. It's just because there's a lot of Pakistanis that do it, it does come across like it's just
Well, there's Jenny,
it's
it's not just a lot. There's a hugely disproportionate number.
No, I agree with you.
Up to 87%.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but you have to also remember that there are white and black people doing it and other races doing it as well.
But Jenny, of course there are. Of course there are. But that's the really shocking thing is if you consider how many British Pakistanis and Bangladeshis, in other words, South Asian Muslims in the country, do you think there are? What's the percentage?
I don't know. You'd probably know that.
But so there's roughly, maybe, let's say roughly 4% of the country, because of course there are other Muslims, Somali, Turkish and others, but let's say roughly 4% of the country are British South Asian, Muslims.
But my point,
Wait, hold on, Jenny, hold on a minute, hold on, let me finish my thought. If roughly 4% are South Asian British Muslims, half of them are women, so let's take 2% away. That leaves 2% of the country committing 87% of type 1 sexual attacks. That
can I give
is
you an example?
Shocking.
I'm going to give you an example, right? I used to live in
Did you just listen to what I said, Jenny?
No, this is really important, and I want you to kind of understand where I'm coming from. Because I've been in a hostel where there was a white prostitute who was hiring girls, that she was white herself, and she was hiring all the white girls and sending them to these predators. Now, this is what's happening, and these girls
that's why I said 87% leaves. But Jenny, hold on.
One moment.
Jenny, please, Jenny, what you're talking about is that...
Unless you've been in the situation yourself, you can't just say, oh, it's just Pakistanis and it's no one else to blame. You haven't been in those hostels.
Who said that, Jenny? Who said there's no one else to blame?
The police...
Jenny, can you address one of my questions, please, instead of just talking? Nobody said no one else is to blame. I said 87% of type 1 criminal attacks on underage white girls are being conducted by British South Asian men who are roughly 2% of the country, and that is a shocking statistic. That leaves 13% for the rest of the sort of anecdotal examples you're giving. In fact, when convicted, I think as recently in Newcastle it was, but don't quote me on that one, but when convicted, they had with them, convicted was a white woman who was assisting them, right? But, you know, no one's saying 87% doesn't mean 100%, and therefore no one's saying it's all and only ever British Pakistani men. The shocking thing, though, is the sheer scale of the disproportionate numbers involved, and that's something, as a British Pakistani man, that I wish wasn't the case. And as I imagine a British Pakistani woman, you wish it wasn't the case. So there's no need to call up here and get defensive, because nobody said it was 100% Pakistanis, did they?
Right, Majid, you've just not let me speak and silence me throughout your whole speech. I'm telling you facts. You need to pay attention to these facts when you're doing a show and you're divulging information that is based on media reports rather than also listening to someone that's seen these things with their own eyes.
Okay, what is it specifically that I've said that is proven wrong?
Majid, what you said, I'm not debating. What I am questioning you on is facts that I've seen with my own eyes.
But you're not saying anything to... No, but there's no disagreement here, Jenny.
You silenced me while you were talking.
No, Jenny, there's no... Yeah, you can speak, but I want you to focus on specifically where you think the disagreement is.
You keep bringing up these Pakistanis that are... what they've done is wrong. I agree with that. Me and you are on the same... You know, we're on the same train of thought there. I agree with that. Anyone that does that should be brought to justice and should get life. You know, I don't. You know, I believe that they should get life. No one's child should ever have to experience something like that.
And so, what's your point, Jenny? What's your point?
My point is that, you know, it's not just Pakistani people that are Pakistani.
Nobody said it was, Jenny. No one has said it was.
You keep saying,
I keep going on about it because I care for the 14-year-old and 11-year-old and 12-year-old girls who are being attacked and targeted, Jenny.
I do care.
No, then don't tell me not to go on about it on radio.
One moment, Majid. There are people that that are hiring these girls, that are trying to find these girls in hostels when the staff that are white there also know and allow it to happen. The police see
so
it.
Everyone, so Jenny, you're doing. You see, you're pointing on the. Jenny, no, hold on, Jenny. Let me respond to something you've just said. Right? This is a two-way conversation, and you're calling on national radio, and what you're trying to do is get defensive about the fact that if 2% of our population in our country are committing 87% of a crime in a certain category, that's alarming. But what you're doing is saying, oh, there's white people that work in hostels, there's white madams that they use to deliver these girls. Of course they do. We live in a majority white country, Jenny. Of course there will be white people involved, which is why 87% doesn't mean 100%. It's incredibly frustrating to hear this. If you think it was the other way round, if Muslim young Pakistani women were being targeted in this way, would you be calling me on this radio show and saying, it's not, it's not all of them, it's only some of them? You'd be outraged, and rightly so. And so please reserve a bit of that outrage for the rest of the country. Thank you, Jenny from...
So this caller, Jenny, I don't think that's her real name, is a perfect example of what the average Pakistani thinks about this story. Essentially, they don't care. Well, they do care, but what they care about is deflecting to other groups. White man does it as well. Even the black man does it, but don't focus on my group, the Pakistanis. And even when Majid presents her with crazy statistics, 2% committing 87% of these attacks, she just ignores it, bats it away, and goes straight to the anecdote. Anything to avoid acknowledging reality. So yeah, they just don't care. And the reason they don't care is because they have an in-group preference. And even though these crimes are horrific, they care more about protecting the honour of their group. Now, I understand why they do that. That's perfectly natural. But unfortunately, it doesn't help us. And the best way to avoid this happening, of course, is don't invite these people into your country in the first place. Now, in terms of how we solve the issue of these rape gangs, the first point I want to make very clear is Majid Nawaz is not going to be of any use. You see, the Muslims, these Pakistanis, they hate him. They are not in any way influenced by anything he says. They want him to shut his mouth and let them carry on raping the white girls. They don't want him on radio exposing it. So no, don't for a second believe that he is going to save us. He's going to reform the Muslims. No chance. No. What I see is that these people will continue to outbreed us and eventually replace us, or they don't. There's no third option. There's no integration or assimilation. They either replace us or they don't. And simply put, we have to decide which option we favour, being replaced or not being replaced. And that's it. So, anyway, please let me know what you think about yet another Muslim trying to defend her fellow Pakistanis. Like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe. Please comment. Ilu Sassoon. Peace out.